Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme, exploring emotional resonance. Songs where the emotion isn't just a part of the song, but the core component, an integral part of the listening experience. Today we're going to be checking out the band The Reign of Kindo, which is familiar to me. Probably should have checked this first if I've just seen the name in passing or if we've actually listened to them before. Let's dive into this though. We're going to be looking at the track Soon It Shall Be.
Your hair in the wind puts asunder all the cares that this world has to give, and the lights in your eyes bring such wonder.
The vocals to me say pop, but the music
had been seen. Oh, the nights have been cold and unkind, dear. Oh, that smile on your face is marigold that blooms in the springtime for lovers anew. Just like the day I found you. So I wrote you this song, though in vain, dear, for no lyric or rhyme can contain all the gladness you bring to the saddest of days. Oh, my love, how I yearn for you now. Though the days have gone long in a wanting.
Okay, we kind of took it in a loungy direction, which the vocals, this is a more natural fit for them.
There's a gleaming of light up ahead, dear. Yes, the sun will shine after the rain.
So we have those very light snare rolls with maybe steel brushes.
As we're dancing beneath the moonlight, and your hand is in mine with her fingers entwined.
Love the piano melody alongside this.
How soon it shall be. Never ending, and the hours they pass without haste. There will soon come a day when the snow melts away, and my love will be right by my side.
It's a really interesting harmonic change here as well. Not in this particular moment, but this part of the song versus the previous section.
So you see, dear, my heart will not falter.
Yeah.
And
you can hear, it's just slightly different emotions. It's just slightly different coloring.
Feel the miles have left far behind you, and no distance between us reside.
A little bit of darkness in there. Yeah. Darkness to stability to tension to resolution. Fantastic way to wrap that up. Yeah, gorgeous track. Not a lot to dive into here. Since it's just these two sections, they're very similar, more on the minimalistic side of things. The lounge section, we only have 3 instruments. In the first section, we have 4, although 2 of them are just doubled up, where we have this string instrument over here on the left. We have chords and the tremolo picked section. But yeah, they're very well done. I greatly enjoyed my time with this, and I'm curious if this is what the Reign of Kindo does. Is it just this type of palatable, poppy aesthetic, but unique sounding instrumental work on their music? Do they just do more of this, mixing lounge with other styles? I'm down for any of it. Honestly, I enjoyed every moment of this, whether this is their style, that this is the kind of music they always make, or that this type of experimentation is what they always do. But I think I'm on board for either. Now, let's dive into this. The first section, we come in, we have the guitar over here, we have something over here, and I should know this instrument. My gut says accordion, but that just doesn't, it's not an accordion. That doesn't sound right. Accordions have slightly different timbres to them. So I might go look this up myself when we break for lyrics, and I go look those up. I'll look up instrumentation as well. But if I forget, please let me know in the comments. I've heard it before hundreds of times, and I can't place the sound for whatever reason. And the guitar also, if it's a specific type of instrument in the lute family, let me know. But it does sound like strings. They are plucked with some sort of, device. What is a pick called? Is there like a term? Planchette? Is that what the family of picks are called? Anyways, something that you would pick it with, and it does sound like these strings can change pitch. So it's not like a dulcimer in this context. It is something where you would be putting tension on the strings in order to change the pitch of them. So I'm going to refer to this as a guitar, and this probably incorrectly as an accordion, just for the sake of conversation. If I'm wrong though, like I said, comments, let me know. The guitar over here gives us chords. Pretty much straightforward chord progression. In the second half of the first section and the second half of the third section, we also have tremolo picking going on. Although I don't think it's actually tremolo. Tremolo implies that there is no rhythmic element to it. You just strum as fast as you can, but I actually do think it had a pulse to it. But it's not in groups of 4 from what I remember. Either way, it is faster picking on a single note, and it gives us sort of root tones moving through, something melodic out of it. I really like the combination of the two, as the chord strumming tends to be a bit softer and warmer, and the faster picking is a bit more abrasive and colder. And the mix of those, I think, works really well, not just to create this atmosphere over here on the left, but also to sort of create this instance of division. Division is actually pretty big in this song. We'll get on that later, but this is the first time I really hear the concept of 2 opposing ideas that are just completely opposite. On the other side, we have this accordion. It is a mix of the two instruments over here. We do get chordal information out of it. We do have harmonic components to it, but it also moves quite a bit more. It has a melodic component to that chordal playing. These instruments together give us pulse, they give us beat, they give us harmonic resonance, they set the atmosphere of the song, but it's also the tone, the timbre, of these instruments that, at least in pop culture, signify something in particular. These instruments combined, to me, immediately harken romance. I don't know why that is. I don't know what part of pop culture or the use of these instruments in pop culture has created this parallel for me. When I hear these instruments, I think of romance. That's the baseline element here. The vocals on top of that, they tell the story. The vocals are beautiful, gorgeous, very smooth, well supported, very much of a pop aesthetic, of a trained vocalist. More so than what we cover a lot on this channel, which is rock and metal, which is self-taught vocalists who tend to have a bit more of a rawer, less academic approach to vocal creation. Now, the vocals here, like I said, they're great. They sound great, but to me, they're mostly functional. They're there to tell the story. They tell the story in a musically palatable way, but really, they could fit in a couple of different sounds. It's really the atmosphere here that is selling this opening bit. And this is supported by the fact that after this section, we go to the middle part of the song, which is kind of totally different. We shift away from that more romantic sound to a loungier, darker, I don't know if I really want to say gloomier sound, but it definitely feels dimmer. If the opening section was bright and vibrant, this is a bit more muted. Now, it could also be the piano and the drums, how they're playing these instruments, what specifically they're playing, and the fact that generally I would call this the lounge section. But all of that sort of gives me this feeling of a darker room, maybe a smoky haze to it, a stage, small band playing. It isn't the vibrant outside brightness. We're in a darker room. It's dimmer, and it is just, I don't know, hazier. The piano kind of picks up where the accordion left off. It provides us the chords as well as melodic flourishes. It isn't quite in the realm of counterpoint because the piano doesn't play consistent enough for me to call it a second melody in this song, but the flourishes do tend to dance around, accentuate, and fill in the blanks of what the vocalist is doing. There is a lot of interplay between the two lines, but primarily the piano is there to give us our chord progression. Then we have the drums. Very light, seemingly ghost note snare rolls that end in a really flat, clappish kind of sound. It isn't the type of crack that I would use to describe an accent from a drumstick. And it's that final hit that really makes me think that this is steel brushes, which has a handle, much like a drumstick, the bottom half of a drumstick. It's just solid grip. Above that, though, instead of the rest of the drumstick with the drum head at the end, it is a bunch of thin steel bristles. It looks like a brush made out of steel. And you can get these really sizzly, poppy kind of sounds you can use them to hit the drum, of course, which I think is what they're doing here for most of it, is this really subtle snare roll, really getting more of the rumbling of the beads under the drum itself than any sort of attack of the brushes on the drum head itself. But beyond that, brushes can also be used to sort of scratch. You run them around the top of the drum head, and that creates micro vibrations too. And maybe it's even a combination of the two of those. Maybe there is some sort of rolling going on, but maybe there's also the stirring technique as well. We also have a hi-hat just giving us metronome type tempo off to the side. A couple of accents on that every now and then, but really a small detail compared to what I think is the texture of the snare and the metronome-like tempo keeping of the hi-hat. Those are the main components on the drums. All of this together, very loungy, very smoky environment, dim atmosphere. It can also feel isolating compared to the vibrancy of the other section. We go through this a bit. We have a nice quasi-piano solo that picks up when the vocalist leaves off. And then we come back to the beginning. We bring back the guitars. We bring back the accordion. And the vocals, they just keep doing what they're doing. They haven't changed much at all on this track. So to me, we start high, vibrant, bright. We dip down into something moodier and dimmer, and then we come back to that brightness. What that represents, not really sure. It's called Soon It Shall Be. I didn't pick up on any words. I don't really know where to take that, but that is the ride that I went on while listening to this. The last thing I want to bring up then, and like I said, this is going to be a bit on the shorter side, harmony, chord progression. In order to achieve that loungier sound, that dimmer atmosphere, some things had to be modified in the chords. I think generally we are looking at very similar chord progressions. I wish I could plan for this so that I didn't have to think up how to simplify music theory into more common language. But let me see if I can go about this way. Chords can be built on any note. You can have a C chord, a D chord, an E chord, etc. Works for sharps and flats as well if you want a C sharp chord or an E flat chord or something. The notes that you choose to put on top of that root tone, though, is what gives it its definition, its emotion, its color. That is where C major differs from C minor. Major is a bit more brighter, minor is a bit more dimmer, a little bit more sadder. It's because of the choices of what notes were stacked up on top of that C. And so what I think is going on here is that generally the bass note in the chord progression for every chord in the progression is the same, but they've changed maybe just one or two notes in the notes that are stacked above it. And this makes it so that moving from the brighter sound to the moodier sound is very similar. You can hear a lot of crossover, but you can also distinctly feel the emotional shift. There is definitely a brightness to one and a dimmerness to the other. Dimmerness is not a word. A dimness to the other. It's because of one or two notes being swapped out in each chord of the progression, just to give it a slightly different feel, slightly different flavor. And I really like that. It's a subtle recontextualization that allows the song to feel completely connected throughout. These are two wildly different ideas, but they fit. And I really think it's this harmonic glue that's tying everything together, where 80% of the chord progression is carried over from one section to the next. It's only the 20% or so, I'm just picking rough numbers here to show a majority versus a minority, but the smaller percent of notes that are changed are enough to really shift the mood, to allow these sections to feel diverse yet connected. It's a really smart way of doing this, rather than just saying, well, I want to make something a bit darker, let's pick completely new chord progression. I think that's an intelligent way to go around doing that. And a great way to tell the story too, not just from a musical component where I enjoy the connectivity of everything, but it does, I think, sell this feeling, rising and falling, not going between two different ideas entirely, but one connected ride. It doesn't feel as jarring as it could because of all the things that are held over from the previous section. It's a really smart way of doing it. Let me dive into some lyrics on this. I'll look up the instrumentation too, and then we're going to wrap this one up. All right. I couldn't find the specific lute instrument. Maybe it is just a guitar. Y'all can let me know, but it does seem to be an accordion played on the other side. So I'm gonna take a pat on the back for that one. Mentally, I was like, I don't know, it's a little off. Maybe it's a different kind of accordion. Maybe it's just a part of the recording. I don't know. But my gut said accordion. I was like, all right, let's go with it. Sometimes you gotta listen to your gut. Your mind's not always right. All right. Lyrically, though, there's not really two sides to this. I'm kind of curious where musically the contrast comes from. If it's just a musical decision, maybe they wrote this entire song with the first sound and just thought it was boring, wanted some contrast to it. Maybe, and we'll touch on this after after we go through the lyrics. Maybe it's supposed to represent the duality in the lyrics, although I find that to be a bit more bittersweet, and I think I would have liked a collective emotional resonance rather than two separate ones. But let's hit the lyrics first here. It's a song about a person who is distant from a person who really cheers them up. And it's the memories that help them keep going as the waiting to see them again seems to be endless. There's a vast distance between the two of them. They're looking forward to reconnecting. But right now, all he can do is remember how beautiful this person was and how much they cheered them up. It says, your hair in the wind puts asunder all the cares that this world has to give, and the lights in your eyes bring such wonder to a man who thought all had been seen. So he says, I thought I'd seen the whole world. I'd become weary and jaded, and I have so many stresses, and just the wind in your hair and the light in your eyes, they just chill me out immediately, remind me that there's so much beauty left to explore. He says, though the nights have been cold and unkind, that smile on your face is marigold that blooms in the springtime for lovers anew, just like the day I had found you. So I wrote you this song, though in vain, for no lyric or rhyme can contain all the gladness you bring to the sadness of days, to the saddest of days. Oh, my love, how I yearn for you now. Once again, really talking about the distance between them. All these positive things, these beautiful lines about this person, then saying that my days currently are sad as I'm without you. That's what goes on through the rest of it. It's 4 more stanzas of that. I can't see you right now, but I still remember this part of you, whether it's a physical feature or a characteristic, an outset, a way that you look on life. That just cheers me up, and it reminds me that eventually the distance between us will shrink and we'll see each other again. But until then, all I have left is to remember you. And so there is this duality. The brightness of remembering this person, the memories and being with them, and the darkness of being alone right now, distant from them. But they are interlinked in the song. Each stanza weaves in and out between these feelings, representing something a bit more complex, a bittersweet style of writing, but musically we don't explore that. We have a more romantic sound, and then a dimmer, loungier sound, and then back to the romantic one. I figured it was going to be more of a sequential idea rather than an interconnected one. Like I said, I still think it works. You can read both emotions in the lyrics, but lyrically they're just represented together, whereas musically they're represented separately. And I suppose that works. I was just expecting more synergy, I suppose. However, these are just my thoughts on Reign of Kindo, Soon It Shall Be. What do you think of this track? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Maybe you have your own opinion or perspective on this track. Please put all of that and any other thoughts you might have into the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You'll be able to find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of them. All right, that wraps it up for this one. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.